Dia Gwita Corda, and good afternoon to you all. It's a pleasure to be with you here today in Killarney at your annual Congress, and I want to thank your President, David Waters, and your General Secretary, Michael Gillespie, and your Executive, and indeed yourselves as delegates, for your kind invitation to be here. I also want to acknowledge in the room a very good colleague of mine in the Oireachtas, former President of the TUI, Senator Gerry Craughwell, who is a very esteemed member of the upper house of the Oireachtas. I know that Minister Harris was genuinely looking forward to being here and addressing you delegates, but as you know, he's otherwise engaged over the last number of days, so unfortunately he's not able to be here. Minister Harris and I were the first ministers for the Department of Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science, and we're incredibly proud of all that has been accomplished in advancing the further and higher education and the research agenda since June of 2020 and since the establishment of our department as a new Department of State. And we are also very aware that the progress that has been made could only have been made with your support and input, not only as union members, but also as advocates for education and for students. Minister Harris has asked me to pass on his sincere thanks to you for your work and commitment, and I hope that you will join with me in wishing him well as our next presumptive Taoiseach, which hopefully will happen this day next week. So despite all of the challenges, one thing that will remain the same is our government's commitment to education. Our education system is absolutely central to Ireland's strategic national infrastructure. We must strive to make sure everyone in Ireland has the opportunity to reach their full potential if we are to tackle the myriad of global challenges that face us in terms of security, sustainability, climate, trade and digitalisation, indeed a lot of the issues which you were just been discussing by way of motion. We cannot therefore simply reflect on the past here today, but we must look how we can together work to build for the future. I want to refer to the Public Service Agreement, and in that regard I very much welcome the overwhelming support and ratification of the new Public Service Agreement. The total value of the deal, including a provision for a resolution of local issues, is 10.25% and up to 17.3% for the lowest paid workers over 2.5 years. The first pay increases provide for 2.25% or €1,125, whichever is greater, are due immediately, with payments backdated to January the 1st, and I believe these pay rises are fair, balanced and well deserved. Of course, the agreement is also about a commitment to reform, and we do not apologise for saying that public service transformation remains a core priority for government. As the world changes, the needs of our students and wider society change, it is only right that we look at how we can do things differently and better. That is why it is so important that the new agreement provides a framework that will allow the reform agenda to move forward in a collaborative and a cooperative way. Officials from our department will soon be contacting union representatives to discuss this further. It will also be important to put in place a new oversight group where unions, employer representatives and our department can work together to progress reform and resolve disputes under the terms of the agreement. There can and there will be disagreements, and I know many of you have concerns about different issues, and I know, as do our department officials and management, that TUI will robustly argue its position. There will be hard negotiations and difficult discussions, but the new Public Service Agreement provides us with a framework and a basis to resolve any differences, and we must take advantage of that. I want to turn to the Technological University agenda. I've already acknowledged that some of you listening to me in the hall are worried about elements of the reform programme, and one message the department is hearing loud and clear is that there is a concern that we risk losing the cohesion of the technological sector that was built up over many years through the great work of the regional technical colleges and the institutes of technology. I want to be crystal clear on this point. Our department and local management support the continued development of the TUs as a sector. In particular, we are rock solid in our commitment that all course levels 6 to 10 should be delivered regionally as set out in the Technological University Act of 2018. Without going into all of the details, I want to assure you that the work will continue at a national level on advancing issues like the sectoral bargaining agreement for incremental credit, pensions for researchers in the TUs, and the appropriate employment of hourly paid staff, to name some of the issues. The establishment and development of our 5 TUs in just a few short years is something we should all be immensely proud of. With so much hard work done to get to this point, none of us should be willing to allow institutions to drift off in different directions, morph into a version of a traditional university, or operate as a rebranded Institute of Technology. We established TUs to be the central plank in the new model of higher education we are building, and they have a specific role to play. That role is about embeddedness in localities and regions, an enhanced level of engagement with local and regional business, a strengthening of the research focus, and a focus on student and learner access. The change we wanted and have achieved is to create institutions of scale. TUs now have a critical mass to lead and contribute both nationally and internationally. It follows that students will choose to study at a TU because they know they will have access to the best academic and research staff and best facilities and equipment regardless of geographic location. Our commitment to the expansion and further development of the technological sector is demonstrated by the substantial funding that has been and is being provided. Some €171 million has been invested through Exchequer development funds and €124 million in EU co-financing up to 2028. In addition, more than €105 million has been secured in additional core funding for the sector since the publication of Funding the Future in May of 2022. This core funding investment is shared with traditional universities, but it will still very much benefit the technological sector, particularly by enabling increased staff recruitment and expanded student support services. Of course, everybody wants more, but these figures represent massive investment and show that we are serious about our commitment to the sector. Beyond providing money, our department is also supporting the sector to consolidate and grow. For example, just last November, St Angela's College in Sligo was incorporated into the Atlantic Technological University. This sectoral expansion obviously raises the crucial question of the future status of Dundalk Institute of Technology and Dunleary's Institute of Art, Design and Technology. But firstly, I must say that it is not for me or any minister to direct an institution down any particular road. Rather, it is for the governing bodies to determine the place of an institution in the higher education landscape. At the same time, I can confidently say that both institutions will be supported in achieving their ambitions as decided by their governing bodies. In fact, appreciable financial and expert guidance has already been provided. Both institutions are making good progress in mapping their future strategic directions, and we all recognise that it is vitally important that a university presence in the North East be secured. I want to turn to the OECD review and academic career structure. We've made great progress in advancing the TU programme, but they are now in a critical implementation phase where TUs need to increase their contribution to their regional and national missions. Funding and investment are essential components of that, but more important is people and you, the staff. Academic staff in the TUs must have the appropriate structures, career paths and fit-for-purpose contracts that they need in order to help them unlock the potential of the sector. I know that the TUI stands ready to work with our department and management on making this vision a reality. Detailed work is still to be progressed, including with the Department of Public Expenditure, but as soon as it becomes possible, officials will begin engagement with the wider TU sector and the TUI on related issues of career paths and the academic contract. New career paths will bring new opportunities for staff, but this will come with the expectation and ways of working, with new expectations and ways of working. It is fully acknowledged that such changes must be implemented in a careful and considered manner, working through the complex range of interconnected issues. Commitments have already been given, confirming the intention and the need to engage meaningfully with the TUI on career paths, contracts and other aspects of the OECD report. In short, we know we will not get the type of sector that we want unless all staff, management and the department all contribute to its development. I wish to turn to apprenticeships and say a few words about the whole area, for which this government has invested hugely and championed in. I wish to acknowledge the work higher education institutions across the country in developing new apprenticeship offerings and increase the number of people choosing the apprenticeship route. We now have 73 apprenticeship programmes offering a qualification levels between levels 5 and 10, recognised under the National Framework for Qualifications, and a further 16 planned to start in 2024. These apprenticeships are delivered across further and higher education institutions, meaning that apprenticeship is an education pathway which spans the entire tertiary system. When my government colleagues talk about the pressing need to build 300,000 new homes by the year 2030, they talk about apprenticeship in the same breath. We must develop a strong pipeline in skills through the expansion of craft apprenticeships in crucial trades such as electrical, plumbing, metal fabrication, refrigeration, pipe fitting and electronic security systems. I'm therefore delighted to say that we have seen a 25% increase in craft apprenticeship registrations since 2019. However, as well as being a strong endorsement of apprenticeship by employers and learners alike, this does bring challenges. The capacity of the craft apprenticeship system needs to increase quickly to match current and future demand. As an emergency measure to reduce the apprenticeship backlog, higher education institutions are delivering 595 Phase 2 training places in 2024, and I wish to thank the TUI and the apprenticeship staff for all their support in this. At the heart of this is the apprentice and their experience, and I know that we are in complete agreement that the long delays to access off-the-job training are not acceptable, and we have a common objective to work together to reduce these waiting times. And before moving on, I must take the opportunity to thank Michael Gillespie and Liz Farrell for agreeing to represent the TUI on the task force that will drive efforts to eliminate the craft apprenticeship backlog, and I know that they will make an invaluable contribution to the work on this group. I wish to turn to FET transformation, and I mentioned the importance of reform earlier in my speech, and this also applies to the further education and training sector. Ireland's further education and training strategy calls out FET as a future major driver of both economic development and social cohesion. Over the past 3 years, the Department has extensively engaged with the sector to drive and support the implementation of the FET strategy. I am very aware of the incredible work that has been done in the sector, and I acknowledge the ongoing commitment of staff involved in the delivery of FET. With its ability to create opportunity for skills development and provide pathways to employment and other educational opportunities, FET and those in the delivery of FET will have a crucial role in building a resilient and flexible workforce to meet Ireland's future skills needs and our government's priorities. The FET reform agenda will be important in meeting the skills response needs of our country and in supporting the sectors to realise the ambitious targets set out in our FET strategy. To drive this reform, the Department is working with an initial focus on a number of key dimensions. These include progressing the blueprint for FET provision in the FET College of the Future and driving integration, consolidation and specialisation of existing provision. The FET College of the Future should be resilient and adaptable to meet current and future learner needs and government priorities. It should also support public service reform and ensure value for money of significant capital investment into the sector. Working in partnership with the sector, a working group has been formed to consider how various FET practitioner roles could evolve to meet the needs of the integrated FET College of the future. To support this work, an independent expert panel has been established to conduct an international comparative analysis of FET practitioner staffing. The panel's evaluation will help us to understand what's working well in our system, as well as highlighting examples of best practices and approaches in other countries that might be of benefit to us. As I said, these are early days in what will be a crucial reform process. We fully intend to work in partnership with the TUI and indeed all staff and management stakeholders as we progress along this pathway. I want to speak in relation to improving access to education. A central theme running through all of our strategies and reforms is improving access to higher education. The one-size-or approach does not fit all, and this is why we have developed the joint HE-FET programmes under the auspices of the National Tertiary Office. These courses will allow the next generation of students to access degrees in subjects such as nursing, business, media or engineering without engaging with the traditional CAO system. It is a new pathway for those students for whom the point system hasn't worked. And I know that the TUI supports the principles underpinning this initiative while having some misgivings about the level of consultation. We did move quickly to ensure courses could be made available to students last September and that they limited the opportunity for engagement. However, the fact is that we are still in the proof of concept phase and we are very open to working with TUI members on how these programmes can best be developed. We must ensure that students understand all the options open to them and are supported to make the choice that's best for them. The joint tertiary courses lead to the same qualification awards and must be seen as equal of more traditional course offerings. I'm sure that you will be pleased to hear that student feedback to date has been positive and retention rates have been excellent. I want to mention Youth Reach. The joint programmes are, however, only one of the many ways in which we are working towards breaking down the barriers to education. I've been especially taken with the outstanding work of Youth Reach during my time in this department. I'm delighted to have had the opportunity to congratulate all of the staff involved here today for the way in which they supported early school leavers. The independent ESRI evaluation of Youth Reach found it to work well for young people with complex needs, providing them with a positive experience of teaching and learning, as well as fostering personal and social skills development and equipping many with the certification to access further education, training and employment options. I have heard some truly inspirational stories from students who have benefited from this programme, and there are a few better examples of what we mean when we talk about providing opportunity for all. I also want to mention cost of living supports, and as a government we recognise the cost of living challenges faced by many students and their families. We're investing €31 million to make improvements to the student grant scheme. From September of 2024, there will be significant increases to student maintenance grants and a full restoration of maintenance grants for eligible postgraduate students. Importantly, we commenced changes on a pro rata basis from January, benefiting students in this academic year. Furthermore, and for the first time ever, we are introducing part-time fees grants for specified undergraduate courses, and this will benefit eligible one-parent families, students with disabilities and carers on low incomes as part of a brand new pilot programme. Building on the abolition of the €200 PLC levy, we aim to ensure that learners across the country do not face fees when pursuing a PLC course from next September. We have also boosted investment in the Student Assistance Fund for the 2023-2024 academic year, an invaluable resource for third-level students who are finding it difficult to make ends meet. There have been huge strides made to assist students with disabilities in accessing primary and secondary education. It is now time that we made the same progress at third level. We have increased the money available to the Fund for Students with Disabilities, topping it up by 5% this year to bring it to the highest ever total of €8 million. An additional €2 million has been allocated to this fund in the further education settings to support its progressive expansion beyond PLC. I do want to particularly highlight the recent rollout of higher education courses for students with an intellectual disability. Investment of more than €10 million will support 10 different institutions in offering courses to students from September. Courses will include life skills, independent living and more, and they will have a real impact and could be transformative in creating opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities. As a country, we should and must be able to deliver an education system for all, and this is an example of us doing just that. Again, I wish to thank all staff in these and all the other initiatives designed to make third-level education accessible and inclusive to everyone, regardless of socio-economic background, ethnicity, gender, geographical location, disability or other circumstances. I want to mention adult education tutors. Adult education is another vital piece of our education system and has been a stepping stone for many to advance further in education. The AINTUS National FET Learner Forum annual synthesis report highlights the significant positive impact tutors have on learners' experiences in their courses and their educational outcomes. Furthermore, the key role played by adult education tutors in the provision of English to speakers of other languages, to Ukrainians fleeing the war and to those seeking international protection is acknowledged and appreciated by government. The efforts involved in scaling up provision so quickly in difficult circumstances should be applauded. I am therefore delighted to be able to tell you here today that following intensive discussions, a revised formal offer issued to TUI and the other unions on the proposed new adult educator grade, and just yesterday your own executive committee approved the proposal. Each of the 2,800 individual tutors will assess their own situation and can opt for assimilation to the new grade or retain their existing arrangement. However, this proposal does build on the steps taken in 2017 to consistently award contracts of indefinite duration across the ETBs, and from 2019 to provide access to leave schemes, paid leave and access to the appropriate public sector pension schemes. It is important to note that assimilation to the new grade will be effective from the 1st of April 2023. I believe that this proposal, with the provision of an incremental scale for adult educators, will provide a career path for tutors in the further education and training sector. So, on that positive note, I will close by thanking you once again for your welcome here today. I want to acknowledge again your commitment in advocating for education and students. We do not agree on everything, and things can be fraught, that's accepted, and it's regrettable but understandable, particularly during a time when we have so much transformation and change in progress. The important thing is that TUI members, management and department officials keep hold of our common sense of purpose of wanting to deliver what is best for our students and for our country. And if we can keep that sense of mission in mind, I feel confident that we can work together to navigate the difficulties and the differences in the months and years ahead. So I wish you a successful and an enjoyable and productive Congress. Gurmagat.